Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. As you can see by the title of today's video, we are finally filming another reading vlog, y'all, and I'm so excited because I have not dropped a reading vlog I think in like 2 months, 3 months maybe. I think my last reading vlog was when I read Twilight for the first time. So I will leave that linked up above in the card somewhere just in case you haven't checked that out. That's another series that I need to get back into, but we're not going to talk about Twilight today. This vlog is going to be an anticipated reads reading vlog, and I'm so happy about it because I'm finally going to be reading Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I did take the dust jacket off because I don't read my hardcover books with the dust jacket on to obviously avoid ruining it. But here you go. Here is the cover right here. So maybe I'll just put it back on so that way you guys can get the full effect. But this is what it looks like right here. And I just absolutely love this cover. Emily Henry's covers never disappoint. And I just feel like, I don't know, I'm always anticipating what the next one is going to look like because it's just so uniquely her, and you know that this is like Emily Henry's style. So yeah, get into it. We love to see it. And of course, I had to match my shirt with the cover because that's just who I am. Before we get further into the vlog, I did just want to say that it's currently 8 p.m. So if you hear any noise at all, that's why. You guys know I normally film during the day or in the morning time, but because this is a reading vlog, we're not doing that. So if you hear any noise, I'm sorry, but as always, I can't do anything about that. So I actually already started Happy Place last night. I was going to kick off the vlog then. It just didn't work out that way, so we're here now, and I already have some notes. I have some thoughts because I did get to the 100 page mark, so I'm currently on page 106, chapter 11. I normally check in with you guys when I'm about to start the book, and then when I get to the 100 page mark, and then I check in again at the end. But because I started this last night, I am just going to tell you all of my thoughts right now, and then I'll check in again at the end and give you my final thoughts. But before we get into my actual thoughts, I did just want to read the synopsis for you guys, just in case you're not familiar with what this plot is even about. I will just say right off the bat, this is a second chance romance as well as fake dating, and you guys know those are two of my favorite tropes when it comes to romance, so you can already imagine how I'm feeling about this book already. But in the flap here it says, think of your happy place. Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls. Except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends, which is how they find themselves sharing a bedroom at the main cottage that has been their friends group yearly getaway for the last decade. Their annual respite from the world, where for one vibrant, blissful week, they leave behind their daily lives, have copious amounts of cheese, wine, and seafood, and soak up the salty coastal air with the people who understand them most. Only this year, Harriet and Wynne are lying through their teeth while trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. Because the cottage is for sale, and this is the last week they'll all have together in this place. They can't stand to break their friends' hearts, and so they'll play their parts. Harriet will be the driven surgical resident who never starts a fight, and Wynne will be the laid-back charmer who never lets the cracks show. It's a flawless plan, if you look at it from a great distance and through a pair of sunscreen-smeared sunglasses. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week? In front of those who know you best. I can confidently say that that synopsis does speak very closely to this book. So now we're gonna get into my thoughts. I actually don't have that many, which is surprising because I feel like when I read Emily Henry's books, I usually have so many different thoughts and feelings swirling around in my head, and I do have some, but just not as much as I did when I read Book Lovers or Beach Read. And to remind you guys, Beach Read and Book Lovers are my favorite Emily Henry books to date, Beach Read being #1 for me and then Book Lovers being #2. I don't talk about People We Meet on Vacation because I did DNF that book. I'm not a Friends to Lovers girl, so I did not enjoy that one as much as I did the other two, but I can recognize why people like that book and why it is a fan favorite. It's just not that for me. I am hoping that at the end of all of this, that Happy Place will be a new favorite Emily Henry book of mine. The first thing that I had to say and that I wanted to get out of the way, I love the fact that Emily Henry loves summer as much as I do. Okay, like this is my tribe. These are my people. I love people who just love this season as much as I do because I am a summer baby. I was born in July. I'm a Cancer through and through. Shout out to Cancer Gang, period. But I love the summertime. Anybody that knows me in real life knows that that is my favorite season, and I will go up for it. I'll go to war, you know, because summer gets a lot of shit. So I do love the fact that Emily Henry focuses all of her books on that season, and I love the fact that she ties in summer and romance so well. She recognizes how synonymous romance and summer is, because that is one thing that I really love in romance books, is summer romance in particular. It's just something about the season that makes you feel so light and airy and free, and then you're tying that in with romance, which is another emotion that can make you feel light and airy and free. Ugh, it's just a great time. It's a great time all around, and so I really love the fact that that's her style, that's her MO, and that she doesn't stray away from that. Now, Obviously in the future she might do that, which will break my heart a little bit, but I totally will understand why she does it. But for right now, I love that her whole shtick is summer romance. And then another thing about the queen that I love is that one thing about Emily Henry, she gonna write a second chance romance, okay? She is going to find a way to include second chance romance in her books, and that's another thing that I appreciate and that I have to stand her for. I love second chance romances with everything in me. It's usually always a hit, and so I'm always shocked when I hear people say that they don't like that trope, because it's just like, why? How do you not like second chance romance? Like,
do you not like fate? Do you not like people finding their way back to each other?
Like, let's talk. Come to the podium, let's talk. Like, I really want to know why some people don't like second chance romances. So if you are that way, please leave a comment down below and just like explain to me like what it is about the trope that doesn't sit well with you. I think what it is for me is that it really reiterates and like drives the point home of like fate and destiny, and like the whole soulmate twin flame thing. As a hopeless romantic, I love love, and I love when people do find their perfect match or their soulmate, and so I think that's why the trope resonates with me so much. But if you're not into it, just let me know. I would just love to have a conversation. So now with all of those little thought starters out of the way, let's get into the actual plot and the characters at hand. So first things first, I have to talk about Harriet. Y'all, Harriet is boring. I'm so sorry. Harriet is so damn boring. Like, I already started coining her humdrum Harriet, and that's no shade. No shade with it, no shade with it, because I do like her character. Even though I do find her boring, I do like her character. It's just something that I've noticed compared to Emily Henry's other heroines. I just feel like Harriet is very, again, like bland and very blasé in comparison to the other heroines like January or Nora. I'm not really sure about Poppy because, again, I did not finish People We Meet on Vacation, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do feel like Nora and January had a little bit more oomph to them. They had a little bit more bite, you know? Whereas Harriet, I feel like, is a little bit more subdued. She has her moments where she can get with you a little bit, but I just feel like in comparison to January and Nora, she's a little bit more tame. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but as the story progresses, I am finding myself enjoying her character more and like getting more settled in, you know, with her. And so I'm not saying that she's a bad character by any means, but it just took a minute for me to actually get like warmed up to her character and like actually connect with her, if that makes sense. But I do like her sense of humor. I will say that it's very dry, and I do like people with dry sense of humor to a certain extent. I do feel like her banter and her chat is still on point. That's one thing about Emily Henry that she will always get right, no matter the character archetype. They're gonna have good chat, and they're gonna have banter, and they're gonna be very witty. Harriet is no exception. I like the fact that she can bounce off of other people and like always have a comeback or always have something snappy to say to another character. Going into my next point, I feel like the writing in this book is a little bit different compared to Beach Read and Book Lovers. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I do feel like the writing in here is a little bit more mature. And I guess that makes sense because this truly is following a group of adults who have real life responsibilities. Everyone is, you know, working actual jobs and has an actual career. There are people obviously getting married and getting engaged and things like that in long-term relationships. So it makes sense as to why the dialogue is a bit more mature than her other books. But I don't know, I just felt like for a second I was reading something different. Like in the first couple of chapters, I was like, is this Emily Henry? Like, who is this? Like, I don't know why, but it was kind of giving Sally Rooney. And y'all, mind you, I have not read a Sally Rooney book in full yet. I DNF'd Normal People. I don't have any interest in reading Conversations with Friends, and I softly DNF'd Beautiful World, Where Are You? I do plan on picking that book back up again, but because I read some of that book, I still remember what went on. I feel like the writing in here, at least the first couple of chapters, felt very similar to Sally Rooney. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just something that I kind of noticed. I'm going to look up Goodreads reviews to see if anyone else has the same thoughts. I could be reaching here, but it's just something that I noticed. But I'm not mad at the writing being more mature, and I actually find it very relatable because with me being an adult myself, and I feel like probably being around the same age as this group of characters, totally understand where they're coming from about, you know, being stressed out and just having to deal with real life responsibilities and dealing with the woes of your job, and also trying to make sure that you are maintaining a long-term relationship if you are in one, etc., etc. So I really do like the relatability factor with this book, and I feel like this is going to strike a different chord with me in comparison to Beach Read and Book Lovers. Even though I love those books with everything in me, I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy this one and or love it in a different way, just because it's hitting a little bit harder. It's hitting me a little bit harder in terms of the relatability factor. So Emily Henry, I see you, girl. I see you. Even though, in my opinion, the dialogue is a bit more mature, that doesn't take away from the humor. I'm still finding myself cackling out loud like a high-pitched hyena at certain chapters and at certain points because Emily Henry's humor is just unmatched, and I just love the way that she writes her characters. Like, they're just so damn funny for no reason. That's the thing. She makes her characters so funny for no reason at all, and I just appreciate that, because if I was an author, I would want to write humorous characters this way as well, where it's just like deadpan but also, you know, humorous. Like deadpan, dry, but also just very humorous. And I just really like the fact that no matter how many books of hers that I read, I still find her humor very refreshing, and I still laugh at most of the jokes that she has the characters tell throughout her stories. And that's a talent, people. That is what you call talent. That is what you call a great writer. And I know it sounds like I'm just like on Emily Henry, like I know it sounds like that, y'all, and it is giving very much that, but at the end of the day, she's one of my favorite authors, so of course I'm going to go up for her and gush over her books because she's one of my favorites, like duh. But I just had to say that her humor is unmatched, and like the girls that get it, the girls that don't, and that's just what it is. In terms of the other characters, I think they're great so far. I genuinely love the friendship and the bond that this group of characters have, and that's another thing with Emily Henry's books that I really enjoy and I look forward to, is not only the romance but also the friendships, because besides romantic relationships, platonic relationships also get you through life. You know what I mean? Having a good group of friends, having a solid group of friends, or just having a solid friend in general is just so underrated, but it's so valuable. You know what I mean? Like, it's so valuable. So to just read about this group of friends who have known each other since college and are still going strong, still making time for each other, and still checking in on each other is just so heartwarming, and it's making me feel all of the feels that I'm looking for. And so I just really love that part of the book. Of course, I like the fact that she doesn't only focus on romantic relationships, but she also focuses on familial relationships, or again, platonic relationships. And I feel like that's important because it's life. So I feel like some people's like view on Emily Henry's books can probably be skewed because they think automatically like, oh, this is supposed to be a romance, and it's like, no, I mean, like, yes, but like there's going to be more to it than just the romance. Like, to me, her stories feel like more slice of life than anything, or I guess you could say women's fiction more than just romance, in my personal opinion. This is real life, and this is relatable, and a lot of people can resonate with these characters and with the storylines that go on in her books. And so for that, I have to stand. But I just wanted to mention that I really do love the friendships in here, and I feel like her writing when it comes to the friends makes me feel as though I'm there with them at this beach house having a great time. And I love that. I love when an author can immerse me into their world and can immerse me into a book. I feel like I'm actually at this cottage house with these characters, just laughing, joking, having a good time, drinking, jumping into the, you know, water, etc., etc. So I really like that part of the book, and I'm excited to get further into it to see how everyone's friendships are going to evolve towards the end of the story, because there's a little bit of tension between two of the friends in the group, and you don't really know why yet. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's tea. So I'm very curious to see what's going to come out of that, and again, how these friendships are going to evolve towards the end of the story, especially given the fact that this is their last time at this beach house. So I just can't wait to see how this is all going to unfold. I don't think I'm going to give an actual character analysis until I get to the end of the book and give you guys my final thoughts on what I think about all of the characters, but like I mentioned, I love everyone pretty much right now. I am, of course, giving Wynne the bombastic side eye because I'm like, what's going on with you and Harriet, you know? But other than that, I really do enjoy everyone's character in here, and I'm just really excited. I'm excited to be here, guys. Like, I'm just excited. I'm excited to have a new Emily Henry book. And I just can't wait to get further into it. The one thing that I will just say about Harriet and Wynne that I'm just kind of like about is the fact that they were long distance before they broke up. There's a little bit of long distance slander, and I don't appreciate that, because my boyfriend Marcus and I were actually long distance for a while when we were in college, and we made it work. We made it work. We're still going strong. We live together and everything. We're still going strong. And I know that there's a lot of people that like talk shit about long distance relationships, and they're just like, oh, they never work out. You should never do something like that. But it's like everyone's circumstances are different, everyone's situation is different, and everyone's relationship is different, because at the end of the day, that wasn't the case for me and Mark. We always reflect back on our time when we were long distance, and we talk about like, wow, the fact that we were able to get through something like that, especially in college and being so young, and again, we're still going strong, period. Like, we really defy the odds, and I love that for us. But I understand that everyone of course has like the same thoughts on long distance, that there are some people that feel very strongly against it, and I totally understand why. But I do feel like it does boil down to, you know, if you want to make it work, you will, and that's just how I feel on the situation. But that's not the case for everybody. So yeah, of course I am going to check in with you guys when I get to the end of the book. I might update y'all one more time, like maybe if I get to like the true halfway point. I'm not 100% sure. I know that contradicts everything that I just said at the beginning, and so the halfway mark is around page 192, 193, whatever that chapter ends off at. That's like the halfway point. So I probably will check back in with you guys when I get there, but if not, then you guys will see me towards the end. I don't want to drag out this video too long, but I do want to give you guys as many of my thoughts as I can in real time. Let's see how long I can last without the fan or the air on, so that way you guys can hear me as clear as possible. So it's actually been a few days since I last checked in with you guys, and to be honest, that's just because I've been moving, so I haven't really had a chance to sit down and film my final thoughts on Happy Place by Miss Emily Henry. But we are here now, we showed up, and we love to see it. I'm not gonna hold y'all, I am a little tired.
Honestly, I'm fucking exhausted.
Moving sucks. No matter how many times you do it, it's just the worst, and I feel like it gets progressively worse with each time. So I apologize if my energy is a little bit low, it's a little bit down, but that is why. Also, y'all, my skin, oh my god, I have been breaking out so badly, and I don't know if it's a combination of the heat mixed with just probably crap food that I'm eating, who knows. But you know, if you notice any weirdness with my skin right now, just act like you don't. Thank you, appreciate it. Anyways, y'all, I did finish this book, I want to say 3 days ago. Yeah, I finished this book 3 days ago. I clearly forgot to mention that I did not check in with you guys when I was supposed to, like during the halfway mark. I meant to check back in around page 190, and it just never happened. Things have descended into chaos because of moving, so I just haven't had the chance to do that. As you guys saw in the last couple of clips, I actually spent my time reading most of this down at the pool, and I just had a great experience. It was so nice to be able to read this summery ass book in summer, essentially. Like, I know it's not summer yet, but it was still nice to be able to read this near the pool. I truly felt like I got the full experience reading this book while sitting outside, so that was great. But I do have a lot of thoughts about this book, and honestly, y'all, I will just start off and say that I really enjoyed this. I have to at least say that, give you that before we dive into my full initial thoughts. But I really did enjoy this book by Emily Henry. It's definitely different than her other books. I would say it's more so on brand with Book Lovers, in the sense that the romance, in my opinion, was more of a subplot than the actual focus, compared to like Beach Read or People We Meet on Vacation. And so I didn't mind that, but I know a lot of people probably do mind that or will mind that, so just keep that in mind when you go to pick up this book if you haven't read it already. But that still did not take away my enjoyment of it, because to be honest, this is the type of book that I needed to read at this point in my life. I'm not going to get into a full, long, in-depth explanation as to what I mean by that, but I will give you guys, you know, some crumbs. I'll give you guys some crumbs when we get there. But I did just want to kick this off by saying all of that, because this is really good. This is really enjoyable, and like I said, it was just so needed at this point in my life. I was trying to figure out a way for me to structure my thoughts with this book, because I wanted to talk about the characters as well as the actual like overall plot and the theme of the story. I think I'm just going to literally break it up that way and just separate the two. So first I'm going to talk about the actual characters and like what I thought about them, and then I'm going to move on to my final thoughts on the actual book, the theme, and why this book really struck a chord with me and truly got under my skin in a good way. But I want to break it up that way, just so that way I'm not super scatterbrained. So like I said, we're going to jump into the actual character analysis first. We're going to start with my gal, humdrum Harriet. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Because you guys know in the beginning of the vlog, I said that Harriet to me was a bit boring, a bit blasé. I just felt like I couldn't really connect with her the way that I have with past Emily Henry female characters. But I will say that I should have just trusted the process. I really did come around to Harriet, and after all is said and done, I understood what her character served as, and I really did enjoy learning more about her and her story. So despite that, I still think that she is a bit boring. She is a bit of a plain Jane, and she even says that about herself in the story, so I don't feel too bad. But no, seriously, she is pretty much a plain Jane, and she owns it, and I can't be mad at that. And like I said, I really do understand what her character was supposed to serve as, and that really goes more so into like my thoughts on like the overall theme of the book. So I don't want to give too much away just yet. Really did enjoy her character overall, and she definitely had her funny moments. I really liked her sense of humor. It was very witty, it was very snarky, and of course she was very quick on her feet, similar to the other female characters that Emily Henry has written in the past. Now moving on to Win, honestly y'all, I'm still trying to figure out my thoughts on Win, because I feel like we didn't get as connected to Win as we have with the past male MCs. I feel like I know Augustus from Beatrix. Similar to Book Lovers, I feel like I got to really know Charlie. There were a lot of insecurities that Win had that I feel like we could have explored a bit more. He had a tendency to self-deprecate, and he also had a tendency to really just like hype up other people but not hype up himself. So going back to that self-deprecation thing, listen, I've been there, I've done that, but at a certain point it does get very annoying and frustrating, and also just very like, you know, negative. And I just really wish we could have got a little bit more background as to why Win would do things like this and get a resolution to that, because I feel like we didn't really get a resolution with Win putting himself down so much. It was more so just Harriet saying to him, you need to stop doing that, and Win being like, okay. Like, no, can we get a little bit more? Can we understand why you do that? Can we really get to the root of the problem? Do we need to go to therapy maybe? I think we do. I think all of these characters need to go to therapy, to be honest. But I just don't understand why there was so much like setup with Win being such a broody and moody and troubled character in a way, but we didn't really get to explore it. Like I said, I just feel like that was a missed opportunity in my opinion, especially because like I said, I feel like with Emily Henry's other male characters, I feel like they were all broody, they were all moody, and all kind of had something going on within their personal lives, but we still got to get beneath the surface, at least in my opinion. I feel like with Win, I don't really know him. I feel like he was just kind of there for me as filler. I did appreciate the moments that him and Harriet had, of course. I'm always going to swoon over anything that's romantic. I still just feel like we could have got more when it came to Win, and we didn't. And then one thing about Win that I will say pissed me off was the fact that he acted so blasé and so just nonchalant about him and Harriet's breakup. Towards the middle and the end of the book, you obviously come to understand why they broke up and what happened, but I just feel like Win was a little bit too nonchalant and calm for me. The way that Harriet reacted to being essentially trapped in a house with their ex for a week, when the breakup is still fresh and they're still in love with that person, I feel like her reaction was valid, and I feel like she reacted the way that I would have reacted, to be honest. I felt like Win was just too calm. It kind of gave like, yeah, we dated, and yes, we were engaged, but it wasn't that serious. Like, that's what it gave. And I know that sounds wild because, again, like, these two were engaged. That's the type of vibe that Win gave off, and I just didn't understand that. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if that's just how his character was supposed to be, but I didn't like it. Whether it was or not, I didn't like it. I did not enjoy that. I feel like he should have had a little bit more angst and a little bit more grit when it came to the fact that he was stuck in a house with his ex-fiance that he loved and was in love with for years, and the breakup is still, like I said, fresh. So that was something about his character that really did rub me the wrong way. There's an incessant use of the word happy and happy place within the story, which makes sense given the topic and given the title, but the way that Win would kind of like, in a weird way, weaponize that word, I didn't like it, y'all. I didn't like it. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe weaponize is not the right word. I'm not sure, but I feel like it is the right word for what I'm trying to convey here. I just didn't like how he would sit here and ask Harriet multiple times, are you happy? Are you happy? You're happy, right? Right. You're happy. You have to be, right?
No, Win, she's not fucking happy, okay? She's not fucking happy.
You guys were literally madly in love for years. You were engaged and you broke it off with her over text or a phone call, I think. No, she's not happy. Like, are you kidding me? And again, when we get to the end of the story, you realize why Win asked that question, why he's so hell-bent on getting the true answer from Harriet, but I just still feel like it was disrespectful and it was tasteless in my opinion. Now that's all I'm trying to say. I don't hate Win's character. I don't think that he is inherently bad, and I don't think that him and Harriet don't belong together. I actually like them as a couple, and I actually really love the moments that we got, again, between them when they were by themselves. I just didn't connect with his character the way that I connected with Gus or Charlie even. Gus is still my favorite Emily Henry male MC to date, but yeah, nobody is touching Gus. So maybe I just need to stop making those comparisons, but I just feel like we could have got more with Win and we didn't. So yeah, don't really have too much else to say about him. That was really all, but I had to come on here and speak my truth and get that off of my chest, because I don't know what the general consensus is on this book, first of all, but also when, but that's my 2 cents. I just didn't really like certain actions of his, and I just wish we could have gotten more background and context as to why his character was the way that he was. And then the next set of characters I'm not going to spend too much time on, because I really want to get into my thoughts on what I felt about this book overall. But starting with Cleo, I liked Cleo. I did. I really think it's interesting that Cleo is the first black character, I think, in the Emily Henry universe, metaverse, multiverse, whatever the right word is. I do think that's interesting that she is the first black character to be introduced to us, and I can say that I wasn't disappointed with her representation. I like the fact that Cleo, to me, didn't play into any stereotypes. Now, I don't know if any other black readers of booktubers feel this way. Me personally, I did not feel that. I feel like her character was handled with as much care as I feel like her character probably could have been handled in this book, only because Harriet and Wynne are essentially the stars of the story at the end of the day. The other characters, of course, do play an integral role of the story, and at the same time, we do spend most of our time with Harriet, so it is what it is. I did just want to talk about that, because I know that that was something that some readers brought up, was that her stories weren't diverse or inclusive, and the fact that she is incorporating more black and POC characters into her story, you know, it's a step. And then moving on to Cleo's girlfriend, Kimmy. I actually really enjoyed Kimmy's personality. I thought that she was really funny, really bubbly, and you could definitely tell that she was the life of the party. They even said that in the book, but she was definitely the life of the party, and I just really liked the chapters and the scenes that we got with Kimmy individually, but also when she was with Cleo. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about Kimmy. And then moving on to Parth, I actually really liked Parth's character. I actually think I liked him better than I liked Wynne. Gunshot, whoa. But no, seriously, I really think that I liked him better than Wynne, because I felt like, I don't know, Parth was just fun. Like, he was just there to have a good time, to reunite with his favorite people on the planet, and to just celebrate his upcoming marriage to Sabrina. So I just really liked Parth's vibes. I also really liked his sense of humor too. And you could tell that he really was just like a brother to the women there, excluding Sabrina. But I just really liked his dynamic and his relationships and bonds with Cleo and Harriet, especially because they are so close to Sabrina. So the fact that they were able to have that camaraderie with or without Sabrina there, I just really enjoyed that. And that's one thing that I really did love about this book overall, of course, was the friendships. I think that Emily Henry hit the nail on the head with friendships. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Parth. And then the last character that I wanted to talk about is Sabrina, of course. So I know a lot of people probably don't like Sabrina's character because she is a bit high strung, and she definitely did have her moments where she was very type A and very just like, you know, trying to, not with malintent, but trying to kind of bulldoze over everybody else's interests and plans, because she really just wanted this week to be as perfect and as seamless as possible. But I actually really did like her character. You could tell that underneath her high strungness and her wanting to just control everything, that she really did have a kind heart. She just wanted to make sure that her and her friends had one last soiree, and I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at those people that are in those friendship groups that just try to wrangle everybody together, keep everyone organized, and keep everyone on track. I know sometimes they get a lot of shit and we, you know, poke fun at them, but they really are the backbone of a lot of group friendships. I understand why her and Cleo butt heads, for sure. I definitely understand why, and I'm not saying that Cleo was wrong, but at the same time, I have friends like Sabrina, so I totally understand why she was the way that she was, and I really did not get annoyed by her character. I felt like I was reading about one of my actual in real life friends. I really just thought that the friendships in here and the bonds were so endearing and so compelling. I just feel like this is such a real account of what it's like to have a group of friends with so many different personalities, but somehow you guys all work and mesh well. So now let's get into my actual rating of this book. So I had to really sit on this one because I was going back and forth between a 4 and a 4.5 and a 5 star, and I know if I had to go back and forth, then I probably shouldn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars. But to be honest, y'all, the emotions that this book elicited out of me after I finished it made me realize that I do have to give it a 5 out of 5 stars, because I did actually shed a few tears when I finished this book, because like I said earlier, I feel like this was a book that I needed to read at this point in my life. Without going into too much detail, I will just say that a lot of the things that Harriet goes through towards the middle and the end of the story really hit home for me. I have said on my channel that coming of age stories really resonate with me, because I feel like all of us can relate to characters trying to figure out what they want to do in life and what they're meant to do in life, and also reflecting on the path that they might currently be on and wondering to themselves, is this the right path? Does this make sense for me in my future, etc., etc. And I just feel like there were so many instances in here where all of the characters were going through that, but especially Harriet. And with her being a medical student and her still going through residency, I just couldn't like imagine that type of pressure and having those type of doubts. You pretty much spend damn near your entire life in school. You spend so much money too. And so for Harriet to even have those doubts while she was going through that, and for her to have the courage and the bravery to decide, you know what, no, this doesn't make me happy, I don't want to do this anymore, really hit home for me and truly made me feel seen and made me feel as though that I'm not alone. And I just have to give Emily Henry her 10s for that, because I feel like she showcased vulnerability in a way that she hasn't really done it in a lot of her other books, in my opinion. Now, I don't know her personally, and I don't know what was going through her mind when she created this book, of course, but I just feel like she let a little bit of her own self kind of slip through in this story. And I know she's an author and obviously not a medical student, but I'm just saying, like, the way that Harriet's character can really resonate with so many different readers, to me, was a direct tie-in with the author being able to be a little bit vulnerable and expressing those feelings and writing those feelings down, and having Harriet serve as a vessel to get those feelings across. And so I just really appreciated the vulnerability and the rawness of that message of the story, is that at the end of the day, you're in charge of your own happiness and you need to do what's best for you, not anybody else. It doesn't matter what anybody else wants you to do with your life. It's up to you. You need to be the one to control your story, your narrative. You can't let the thoughts and expectations of other people, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your significant other, I don't care who it is, you need to make sure that you are happy with the life that you are living, because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to sit back and reflect and think to yourself, yeah, that was a life worth living, or no, that wasn't. So I just really like the fact that she really hit that point home so many times throughout the story, but especially once we got to know Harriet a bit more. And that's why I changed my opinion on her a bit. I really do understand why she is the way that she is. She is so used to following orders, essentially, and again, just trying to live up to everyone else's expectations, especially her parents. She is so hyper focused on making sure that they are happy and making sure that their sacrifices that they made for her and her sister Eloise were worth it. And that's a lot of pressure. I'm that type of person who is very hard on themselves, who is very hypercritical of themselves, and really tries to push myself to be as perfect as possible, and that's just not realistic. That's not how life works. None of us are perfect, of course. You guys see it every day in my videos. I'm not perfect, you know, but for some reason a lot of us still have this warped idea of, if we achieve this, if we pass this exam, if we make this amount of money, if we get into this college, if we get into this program, that we are worthy, we are enough. And this book and life in general has proven time and time again that it's not. You should not sacrifice your own happiness for anything. And I have come to learn that this year, the hard way, unfortunately. Your happiness and your mental health is more important than anything. Well, your physical health too, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's more important than these jobs. It's more important than these prestigious careers and schools and things like that. I know it's easier said than done, but it is the truth. And so I just like the fact that Emily Henry made this book, because for me, and I feel like for a lot of readers, it's just a great reminder. Your happiness is up to you at the end of the day, and you really need to find the courage to make it happen. If you're not happy, find the courage, figure it out to try to make it happen, to try to make yourself happy, because no one else and nothing else is going to do it for you. As you can see, the lighting looks a bit different because it is getting darker outside, so I did turn on my little ring light here. So I might change the lighting again depending on how dark it gets, we'll see. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I had to say on that. I just really had to get those thoughts out because it really did strike a chord with me, and that's why I cried at the end. That's truly why I cried at the end, because like I said, this is something that I needed to read at this point in my life, because it just made me feel so seen and it made me feel heard. And that's one thing that I love about books and just art in general, is that it is able to connect so many of us. We could be living completely different lives from one another, living miles and miles and miles apart, worlds apart, not even know each other. Because at the end of the day, this is a parasocial relationship that I have with Emily Henry. She doesn't know me from a can of paint, but the fact that I was able to relate to her writing and her characters, because I might be experiencing similar things that they're experiencing, that's like, ooh, that gives me goosebumps. Like, that gives me chills. Like, that is so wild to me that art can just transcend and connect all of us. That's exactly how I felt after I finished Happy Place. I was just sitting there dumbfounded, staring at the wall after I was done crying, staring at the wall like, wow. The fact that someone was able to articulate all of my feelings and all of my thoughts and put it into a book for the masses, I really, really appreciated that. Another thing that I really wanted to touch on and that I thought was hard hitting was just the fracturing of Wynn and Harriet's relationship. And Wynn and Harriet met and started dating when they were in college, and it obviously continued after they graduated. And to go back in time during the, you know, past or flashback chapters and just seeing how the woes and the stress of everyday life really did contribute to the fracturing of their relationship and really putting a strain on it was just so real and raw. I feel like this book is as adult and as adult romance as you can get, especially because I myself am in a long-term relationship, and so I was able to relate to so many of the different things that Harriet was talking about or thinking about, and it just really puts so many different things into perspective for you, and once again makes you feel as though you're not alone. But it really does put into perspective for you how life can really just weigh on us and also affect so many different things, not even just us and what we have going on, but our external factors, i.e. our relationships with other people, whether it's platonic or romantic, familial. Life and the stressors of life can just really bog you down and bog those relationships down, and it's so heartbreaking when you think about it, and so fucked up, because it just shouldn't be like that, you know. It just shouldn't be like that, but obviously it is like that, and it is what it is, and we have no choice but to continue to go on and move forward as best as we can, and just making sure that we do the work that we can do on our parts, on our ends, to upholding those relationships, strengthening those relationships, and maintaining them. That was something else that I just really wanted to call out, because I thought that that was so real of her to really write about in her book, and to once again really hit home. Like, my girl was just hitting on every point, but it didn't feel messy or chaotic, which is a talent, a true talent, because trying to fit in all of those different themes can really muddle the book and muddle the story, in my opinion, and really make it feel like, oh, there's too much going on here. But I never felt like that when I was reading Happy Place. It felt like there was a clear message, a clear path, but yes, there were branches, of course, but it felt like there was a clear path as to what Emily Henry was trying to do with this novel. And she ate, left no crumbs, period. I just really wanted to go back to the friendships that were included and highlighted in this book. Emily Henry did her big one with this, in my opinion. I feel like it's very bold to call someone the voice of a generation, because there's a lot of nuances to that. There's a lot of critical thought that needs to go into that, and I am not an actual like professional book reviewer, so I don't want to say that about really anyone, but I will say that Emily Henry does have a voice, and she has a millennial voice for sure, and she knows how to utilize that. She has a distinct voice within the literary space, period. She's able to create stories and characters that can really get under your skin and make you feel as though that you are them, or that you have, or you know someone in your life that is like them. And I just really like the fact that she's able to sometimes encapsulate a lot of our shared experiences and articulate them so thoughtfully and so powerfully. And that was something that I really felt in this book, and I really liked it, and I liked the fact that she took this book in that direction, because I think we need more books like this. I think we need more books that really hit on the mid 20s to early 30s perspective, because there's really not that much media, in my opinion, still that focuses on that. Of course, we have YA that focuses on, you know, what it's like to be in your 20s, and then we of course have, you know, middle grade and teenagers and things like that, and children's books and stuff. And of course we have older adult books, not as much still, but we do have, you know, books that really do focus on the later years of your life. But I feel like we're still missing a lot of art that focuses on this mid awkward phase of like, you are a full-fledged adult, but there's also certain things that you are not going to experience yet until you're older. You're still kind of trapped in this weird limbo of, again, you are a full-fledged adult, but you also still have 20s / young adult qualities and things that you still can't break from just yet. So I have to give her 10s. I love the characters. They were so compelling. They were so endearing. Their friendship was so beautiful. I truly felt as though I was at the shore house with them in Maine, and just partaking in all of the fun festivities. And also going off of that a little bit more, I did just want to say that I also really like the fact that she was able to shine a light on adult friendships and how devastating it truly is when an adult friendship ends, similar to when children's friendships can end. And I just, again, feel like we don't really have that many books that really explore that or really talk about it, unless it's like a memoir or essays or something like that. But the fact that she was able to weave it into a fictional story but still get her point across, I fuck with that. Like, I appreciate that. It's something that I feel like a lot of us have experienced or will experience at some point, as sad as that sounds, but it's the truth. Things change and people change. Yeah, I don't know how she does it. I don't know how Emily Henry is able to write the way that she writes. I don't know how she's able to paint pictures the way that she's able to paint pictures in her stories, but she does it. And I definitely think that she needs to really be thrown into those conversations of, you know, just what it is to be a great writer, what it is to be a great author, in my opinion. I know I got really deep in this reading vlog and probably talked about topics that might make some of you a little bit uncomfortable. Honestly, it makes me a little uncomfortable to be this vulnerable on the internet, but this is such an important book for me, and it was a much needed and timely, relevant book. It's wild to me that God, the universe, or whatever you believe in, can put certain things into your possession that directly relates to your experience and the feelings that you're going through, and just giving you, again, a subtle reminder and a pat on your back and letting you know there's someone else out there that's going through the same thing that you're going through. You're not alone. You're going to get through whatever you're going through, and it's going to be okay. And so I'm just really happy that I picked up this book when I did. I'm happy that I read it when I did. As you can hopefully see here, because I know my light is bright, I tabbed this book up so much, it's not even funny. I highlighted and underlined and exclamation pointed so many different things and drew hearts to so many different things. But this is a book that I'm definitely going to have to revisit from time to time, but I am happy that I read it when I did, because like I said, it was just very relevant. Once again, thank you to Emily Henry for writing another hit that I can add to my collection of hers. And I'm just so happy that 3 out of the 4 of her books are favorites of mine and have been rated 5 out of 5 stars. Like, that's wild. I don't even think I could stack this up or really rank this against Beach Read and Book Lovers, just because I feel like this book was so different and so personal for me that it's in its own league, it's in its own category, its own lane, you know. But like I said, I do feel like if this does relate to any of her past works, it would be Book Lovers, but just more elevated in my opinion. But I don't even want to compare it, like I said, to the rest of the books, because again, for me, this is personal and it's in its own lane. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely comment down below and let me know if you have read this book yet, or if you are going to read it soon. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you still unsure? Let me know. I would love to talk about this book, because I feel like there are so many discussions that could be had from this book. So I'm down to talk about it. Send me a DM. We can chat in the comments, whatever, just let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me, my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video, like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.